Ferrari is bringing their last upgrade of the season. Horner and Verstappen have another war of words as Red Bull is having another meltdown. And Sergio Perez addresses retirement rumors. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's get straight into the latest F1 news. Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur has revealed the small upgrade for the car at the upcoming Formula One United States Grand Prix will be the Scuderia's last of the season. The Maranello-based outfit remains in contention for the Constructors' Championship despite the focus placed on the battle between Red Bull and McLaren. The gap standing at 75 points between the Woking team and Ferrari with 7 rounds remaining. In confirming an update package would be added to the car at the Circuit of the Americas, Vasseur revealed focus is then primarily on next year's machinery. We all know that we already started the development of the next car, and we try to do our best to have small upgrades at the next one race, he said. I think it will be probably the last one for everybody. That will be true for us, but it will be true for the other teams. Now it's so tight overall in the last 4 or 5, 6 races. If you have a look on the grid, it may get tight and every single bit can make a difference. Ferrari's Singapore Grand Prix hit trouble with a disappointing qualifying session in which Charles Leclerc struggled with tire preparation and had a lap deleted in Q3, while Carlos Sainz crashed out. The team then split strategies from 9th and 10th on the grid, with Sainz stopping early to get into clear air after losing positions on the opening lap, while Leclerc went later into the race to make his one and only stop. Leclerc went on to finish 5th, hassling George Russell for 4th at the flag, while Sainz ended up 7th on his aged hard tires. Explaining why the decision to split approaches was made, Vasseur said, "To start on soft, you can make one position perhaps. But if you want to be aggressive, you will pit lap 12 or 15 like Lewis Hamilton did. You don't have another choice." At least to start with medium, we had the opportunity to extend. The scenario of the race was a bit different, and I think it was a good strategy. But the fact that we split the cars to do one early stop and then another one who extended was also the good call, I think, and it went pretty well due to the track position of the stint. David Coulthard waxed lyrical about Lando Norris and his Singapore GP performance, claiming the humble McLaren driver does not realize the significance. McLaren are sensing an F1 2024 title double opportunity, having usurped reigning champions Red Bull at the head of the Constructors' Championship, while Norris is keeping the pressure on Red Bull's Drivers' Championship leader Max Verstappen, having reduced his lead to 52 points with 6 rounds to go. And Norris did that in dominant fashion at the Singapore Grand Prix, banishing his race start demons and never looking back to win by 21 seconds over Verstappen. Ex-Red Bull driver Coulthard was impressed, telling Channel 4 that minus a couple of brushes with the barriers, Norris's performance was otherwise flawless. "What a performance, human and machine in perfect harmony," Coulthard continued. He was like that from first practice on Friday, had the upper hand on Oscar Piastri, who did a really solid job to come back through and pick up that podium. Coulthard feels Norris is delivering performance which F1 legends Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher, and Lewis Hamilton would proudly serve up, but is that truly registering with the Brit after his 3rd win of the F1 2024 campaign in Singapore? But it's almost like Lando, he doesn't. He's so humble and so approachable, he doesn't realize how great and significant his performances are right now, you know, Coulthard continued. I want to put him in the sort of Senna, Schumacher, Hamilton at his best type performances. We can all win a Grand Prix by getting a bit lucky, but this was exceptional. Coulthard would catch up with Norris after the race, telling him that performance was Senna-esque, and pointed out that the gap to Verstappen is only 52 points with the title race on. Only? It's still a lot of points, Norris replied, especially when Max is finishing 2nd, like today it doesn't go down too quickly. But I feel like I've been performing very well the last couple months, just different circumstances, different things, have just not led to me having results like I had today. But I feel like I've been performing at this level the last 2, 3, 4 weekends. I feel like I wish I could be closer in the championship for the time being, but it is what it is, and we've taken some of the things on the chin. We move forward, and when we have a weekend like we had this weekend, and a day like today, quickest the whole weekend and dominating the race, it makes you feel good. And it's good motivation for the team. So I'm happy, but we need to keep working hard because I'm sure Red Bull are going to catch up, and I want my races to be nice and easy. Next up is the United States Grand Prix at Austin's Circuit of the Americas, a race won by Verstappen for the past 3 seasons. Jos Verstappen was unimpressed with the comments from Red Bull boss Christian Horner after he praised sim driver Sebastian Buemi following Max Verstappen's Singapore GP result. As Formula One headed for the Marina Bay circuit, host of the Singapore Grand Prix and round 18 of the F1 2024 campaign, Red Bull returned to the scene of their only defeat in a record-breaking F1 2023 season of dominance. The race weekend got off to a shaky start for Red Bull, Sergio Perez ending Friday practice in P8 and Max Verstappen P15, but the reigning champions pushed on from there as Verstappen put his Red Bull RB20 on the front row, racing on to a P2 finish behind comfortable race winner Lando Norris, who trimmed Verstappen's lead in the Drivers' Championship to 52 points. But it was a story of improvement through the race weekend for Red Bull, with team boss Horner crediting Buemi, the former Toro Rosso driver, for playing an important part. Asked by the media in Singapore how crucial Buemi's session on Friday night was for the team, Horner joked, "He was consuming plenty of Red Bulls to keep him going. He played an important part, as the whole team, in working hard and long days and long nights. And with the benefit of there being no factory shutdown over the next 3-week period, it's going to be a busy period of activity." Verstappen's father, Jos, saw these comments online and made his displeasure clear, commenting, "Cut out the stupid crap." Verstappen's father, Jos, saw these comments online and made his displeasure clear, commenting, "Cut out the stupid crap." Tensions between Mr. Verstappen and Horner stem all the way back to early 2024, when Red Bull conducted an internal investigation into Horner following allegations about his behavior made by a fellow employee. Horner denied all accusations, with the case duly dismissed, while an appeal was not upheld. Mr. Verstappen called for Horner's exit during that saga, and has continued to criticize the team's performances as his son's early F1 2024 dominance faded. After Verstappen finished runner-up to Norris at his home race, the Dutch Grand Prix, his father told Bild, "You can't sugarcoat it anymore, the situation is serious. Max won't be happy with having a car like this. Now it's up to Horner to get the team back on track." Red Bull senior advisor Helmut Marko also made reference to the strained relationship between Verstappen Sr. and Horner when addressing Mercedes boss Toto Wolff's interest in signing the Red Bull driver, Wolff having claimed to have held meetings with the Verstappens and their manager Raymond Vermeulen. "He wouldn't be a good team principal if he didn't try to get Max," said Marko on the Inside Line F1 podcast. "I think every top team would like to have Max. The other story is all the people live in Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo, when there is not a Grand Prix, is a quiet place, and there are not so many coffee shops, so it's natural you run into each other. And of course, Toto makes stories out of it." On the other hand, Jos Verstappen, I think, is a bigger fan of Toto's than he is of Christian. Despite Max Verstappen's 52-point buffer at the top of the Drivers' Championship as he chases a 4th consecutive title, he has not tasted victory since the Spanish Grand Prix in June. Former Haas team principal Günther Steiner says Lance Stroll is just non-existent, with the Aston Martin driver passing completely under the radar in F1 2024. Stroll is currently in his 8th season in Formula One, having arrived on the grid as a teenager with Williams ahead of the 2017 campaign. Despite claiming 3 podium finishes, as well as a pole position at the 2020 Turkish Grand Prix, the Canadian has been frequently dismissed as a pay driver due to his father Lawrence Stroll's ownership of the Aston Martin team. Stroll has been largely overshadowed by Fernando Alonso since the 2-time world champion joined Aston Martin last season, with the 25-year-old trailing his experienced teammate by 38 points, with 6 races of F1 2024 remaining. Appearing on the Red Flags podcast, Steiner has accused Stroll of being non-existent, with the Aston Martin driver doing little to stir the excitement of fans. And he suggested that the youngster simply goes through the motions when he does not have a competitive car at his disposal, with Stroll waiting to see if F1 2025 brings an improvement for Aston Martin. He said, "Lance passes completely under the radar, it's weird. You never speak good or bad about him, he's just non-existent." Put to him that F1 fans have just accepted Stroll being around, he added, "Exactly. I don't think he's a bad race car driver. I don't know what it is. Obviously, we all know that he doesn't need to drive a race car. He's alright financially, so maybe that's what it is. If the car is not good enough to reach the podium or something, he's just like, yeah, I just get by. Who cares? I wait until next year's car comes and see if that is better. I don't know. I don't know the guy, never spoke with him, so I have no idea." But he's one of these guys who is rarely spoken about when he's in the points. It's less spoken about when he's not in the points, he's just there. If you wouldn't have brought him up, I wouldn't have even known that he raced last weekend. I need to go and check the stats because he's just non-visible. He was never young, he will never be old. He will just be there, he's above the rules. Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko has confirmed that the team have offered Daniel Ricciardo an F1 lifeline with an ambassadorial role, and he doubts that the Australian will want to continue his racing career in another category of motorsport after being dropped by Red Bull junior team V-Carb this week. V-Carb announced on Thursday that Ricciardo has been dropped for the rest of the F1 2024 season, with Red Bull reserve driver Liam Lawson stepping up to partner Yuki Tsunoda for the final 6 races, starting at next month's United States Grand Prix in Austin, Texas. The decision came after Ricciardo appeared to contest his final F1 race at last weekend's Singapore Grand Prix, where the 35-year-old cut an emotional figure and was treated to a guard of honor in the paddock. PlanetF1.com revealed this week that Ricciardo has the chance to maintain his ties with Red Bull in another form, but is yet to make a decision. Appearing on the Formula1.de YouTube channel, Marko confirmed that Red Bull are interested in extending their collaboration with Ricciardo due to his popularity among fans, with the company seeing the veteran as an asset in the US market. He said, "He is one of the most popular Formula One drivers, especially in the USA." The Red Bull chief added that Ricciardo wants to have time to think about his entire future and has not yet agreed to stay on with the team. Ricciardo's next move is unclear, with the Australian known to be an avid fan of NASCAR, having raced in F1 with the number 3, synonymous with NASCAR icon Dale Earnhardt, as his official driver number since 2014. However, Marko believes that Ricciardo will draw a line underneath his racing career, with the Perth-born star unlikely to accept Red Bull's offer of an ambassadorial role if he no longer wants to race actively. Pressed on Ricciardo potentially moving to another series, Marko said, "I don't think so. And if he no longer drives actively, does he even want these PR activities?" Ricciardo ruled out a move to IndyCar during the Singapore Grand Prix weekend and raised the possibility that his F1 exit could mark the end of his racing career, admitting that he may not find true fulfillment doing something else. He said, "IndyCar still scares me. I've thought about it because I also thought about it a couple years ago when I knew I wasn't going to start the 2023 season, but I don't know. I know I'm still a competitor. I know I still have a lot of fire in me, but maybe that itch is scratched doing something else. It's hard. It's even talking about just being in the sport and maybe fighting for a 10th place every now and then. It's maybe the same with doing another series, and no disrespect to other series, but because I've been there and experienced the highest of the highs, will I get true fulfillment doing something else? There's no guarantee I'll be good at something else, so is that going to actually scratch the itch and give me what I want? I don't know. I'll probably say no more than yes to extending my racing career, but these are things I'll think about if I'm not in this position." Speaking after the race in Singapore, Ricciardo also rejected a return to Red Bull as the team's reserve driver, having briefly held the role after leaving McLaren at the end of the 2022 season. He explained, "Obviously last year, a reserve role made a lot of sense to keep one foot in the door, and obviously the big picture was to try and get back at Red Bull. I think if I was to do that again, there's not really much point. I'm not going to restart my career. I'm also 35, and I still showed the pace that I've had over the years, but it's obviously been evident that it's been harder for me to show it every weekend. And maybe that is a little bit of an age thing. I think it definitely came easier for me when I was 25 as opposed to 35, but also maybe the competition is just increasing. I think that's probably a common thing with all sports. Simulators are getting better, the kids are getting younger, so naturally they're more prepared. And they have access to all the onboards now, so they can watch and study everyone. So maybe it's just that the level's increased and it's probably a tall task for me to fight at that level week in, week out. I can't be disappointed with that. I'm happy that once upon a time I could do it and that was a lot of fun. And if this is it, I want to make sure I walk away or leave the sport with good memories of it, and it doesn't get into that place where it's just a grind and I'm out in Q1 every weekend. That's obviously not fun." Sergio Perez's future in Formula One has been in hot debate throughout much of the F1 2024 season, with recent rumors suggesting the Mexican racer will announce his retirement at his home race in late October. Ask Perez, though, and he'll tell you otherwise. The Red Bull racer took to X to share a clip from the film The Wolf of Wall Street in response to the retirement rumors, sharing one simple message: "I'm not leaving." Earlier this week, Formula One journalist Joe Soward stated that Red Bull Racing and Perez had worked out a plan to announce the Mexican driver's retirement at his home race, bringing to an end a tumultuous F1 2024 season that saw his future questioned multiple times. Ahead of the Canadian Grand Prix in June, Red Bull announced that Perez had re-signed to the team for the F1 2025 season, with an option to remain with the outfit in 2026. Almost immediately, however, Perez's future was called into question. The Red Bull driver saw a sudden drop-off in performance almost immediately after the ink on the contract dried, leading to speculation that the Milton Keynes-based outfit would axe Checo partway through 2024. As Perez's performance spiraled, McLaren faced a turning of the tides, threatening Red Bull for the coveted World Constructors' Championship. With the understanding that Perez wasn't playing his part in securing points for the team, many expected the Mexican racer to be dropped after the summer break, to be replaced by Daniel Ricciardo. Red Bull nipped that suggestion in the bud almost instantly. Mere days into the summer break, it was announced that Checo would remain with the team. These recent rumors have stemmed from the decision to drop Ricciardo from Red Bull's junior team, VCARB. As the Red Bull organization puts its ducks in a row, Soward speculated that Perez would be offered an opportunity to retire gracefully. However, Perez has denied speculation. He took to social media platform X to share a 17-second clip from the 2013 film The Wolf of Wall Street, paired with the caption "Sorry" and 6 crying, laughing emojis. In the clip, Leonardo DiCaprio's character Jordan Belfort addresses speculation that he'll be leaving his finance company. What starts out as goodbye speech transforms halfway through, as Belfort decides he wishes to remain in his role after all. "I'm not leaving," he says almost as a whisper. He repeats the phrase before yelling, "I'm not fucking leaving," as the office roars its approval. Fittingly, the clip is censored, just in case the FIA is watching. Perez has firmly stated his piece, perhaps with the intention of putting to bed rumors of his retirement. While the tides can turn at any moment in Red Bull, it seems for now that Sergio Perez is confident he'll be racing in the future. That's it for today's video. I'll see you around.